Hello everyone. Let the light from the stars guide you as we observe a special visitor from deep space. In mid-October, 3I Atlas approaches perihelion, where it reaches its closest distance to the Sun, just 0.36 AU. During this time, from Earth, the object is almost completely hidden by the Sun. However, telescopes around the world are still observing and recording exquisite data. Perihelion is a crucial time, not only for measuring orbits and speeds, but also for recording changes in light, plasma, and subtle signals. Every oscillation, no matter how small, is a clue to understanding how 3I Atlas exists and reacts. Astronomers use a network of synchronized instruments, from JWST, Hubble, Gemini South, to TESS. Each measurement is recorded, analyzed, and stored, forming a data chain that reveals the mechanism, the subtleties of the object. Perihelion also provides an opportunity to observe strange phenomena such as unexplained decelerations, strange light fluctuations, and faint radio signals. Humanity is beginning to realize that each interstellar object carries complex mechanisms, and only careful observations can reveal them. In these few weeks, every detail is precious. Every light fluctuation, every velocity change, every plasma reaction offers the opportunity to understand the extraordinary behavior of 3I Atlas and opens a rare window into the mysteries of the universe. 3I Atlas is remarkable not only for its orbit and speed, but also for its extraordinary size and mass. Measurements from JWST, Hubble, and ground-based observatories show that the object has a minimum mass of about 33 billion tons, a figure that would shock any astronomer. On the surface, it looks like a small comet, but reflected light and spectral data reveal a profound anomaly. The object appears to be hollow inside, explaining why it has survived the sun's intense radiation without disintegrating. Another peculiarity is its absurd deceleration. 3I Atlas moves at a speed of about 68 kilometers per second, slowly decelerating without creating a trail or jet. This phenomenon is difficult to explain by conventional physics. Compared to Oumuamua and Borisov, 3I Atlas is superior in size, interaction with radiation, and complex structure. This makes scientists question, is this just a natural celestial body or an object with a sophisticated internal mechanism? Spectral data also reveals an unusual chemical composition. CO2 is many times higher than normal. Nickel exceeds predictions, almost no iron, and complex carbon compounds. This opens up unanswered questions about the origin and internal mechanism. Humans observe, measure, and record each light oscillation. Each data is a piece of the cosmic story, helping to visualize how objects survive and adapt in harsh environments. If you also want to step into this mystery, please subscribe and like so you don't miss any light oscillations, and listen to the story that 3I Atlas is telling. 3I Atlas moves on a rare orbit, almost parallel to the ecliptic. The object passes near Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, an extremely unusual orbit by chance. Astronomers calculate that the chance of 3 near-synchronous approaches occurring by chance is 1 in 20,000. This raises the question, is this orbit just random, or is there a sophisticated internal mechanism regulating it? Small fluctuations in orbit combined with irrational deceleration and variable light highlight the difference from any object ever observed. This opens up opportunities for humanity to pose new hypotheses, challenging current theories. Orbital observations are more than just dry data. Every small change is evidence of complex behavior. Humanity has the opportunity to analyze, simulate, and understand how objects interact with the cosmic environment. If you are observing with me, leave a comment below. Do you think 3I Atlas will continue to behave in a random orbit, or is there a sophisticated control mechanism? Every comment will be part of the community that is solving this mystery together. Telescopes such as Hubble, James Webb, Gemini South, and many ground observatories have continuously monitored 3I Atlas. Optical, spectroscopic, and radio observations reveal many unnatural phenomena. The emitted light has a strange blue color. The plasma around the surface vibrates in uneven streams. Spectral analysis shows an unusually high CO2 ratio. Nickel exceeds the standard, almost no iron. Along with complex carbon compounds, this raises questions about the origin and internal mechanisms of the object. Scientists have recorded weak radio signals, emitted periodically, interacting with light and plasma oscillations. This suggests that the object can actively respond to its surroundings. Observations combining multiple wavelengths and multiple types of instruments help astronomers simulate the mechanism of survival, adaptation, and orbit adjustment. These data are not enough to conclude whether the object is natural or artificial, but certainly foresee sophisticated mechanisms and complex behaviors. 3I Atlas will make its closest approach to Earth on the 15th of December 2025, at a distance of 1.8 AU, bringing with it unprecedented observational opportunities. Multi-wavelength observations from JWST, Hubble, TESS, Gemini South, and ground-based telescopes allow every detail to be captured: orbit, velocity, plasma, and reflected light. For example, data from JWST show CO2 levels 8-10 times normal and the presence of nickel carbonyls, which are unseen in a typical comet. Studies from Hubble show strange, pulsating blue light interacting with the plasma surrounding the object. This suggests that 3I Atlas may be able to respond to its environment and fine-tune its behavior. Gemini South data shows a cyanide emission that is different than that of typical comets like Borisov. Scientists note that this contrast may reveal unknown mechanisms within. Each observation is a lesson in how humanity observes and analyzes the phenomenon of the unknown, and helps expand our understanding of interstellar matter and the possibility of sophisticated mechanisms. This opportunity is a reminder that science is not just about recording data, but also about understanding behavior, simulating mechanisms, and generating new hypotheses. In the universe, everything has mass, but not all mass means the same thing. When astronomers began estimating the mass of 3I Atlas, they realized something strange. It was far beyond any reasonable limit for what a comet could have. At least 33 billion tons, and that was just the minimum. A mass enough to crush all comparisons, enough to make familiar theories collapse. The number was not a hunch. It was calculated from the brightness, speed, density, and reflection of sunlight off the object's surface. But while the brightness varied constantly, its speed was absurdly steady. A massive object, weighing tens of billions of tons, moving through the solar system as if unimpeded by any force. No deflection, no wobble, no noticeable influence from exhaust pressure or solar wind. It's the physical silence, and that's where the curiosity comes in. If 3I Atlas is really that massive, it should respond significantly to gravitational forces. A small change in its structure or direction of its gas jets could throw its orbit off course by thousands of kilometers. Yet measurements from July to September 2025 show that its anti-gravitational acceleration is extremely low, lower than Oumuamua, once considered the most mysterious object of the century. A complete paradox. The more massive, the quieter. The more massive, the more absurdly stable. Compared to Oumuamua, the first visitor from outside the solar system, discovered in 2017, the difference becomes profound. Oumuamua is only about 400 meters long, has an estimated mass of several billion tons, but has strong non-gravitational acceleration, causing its orbit to deviate from Newtonian gravity. It is like a light mirror pushed by the solar wind. But 3I Atlas, more than 10 times as massive, is almost immovable by all the pushing forces. If Oumuamua is a sail, then 3I Atlas is a dormant planet. With Borisov, the second interstellar visitor, discovered in 2019, things are different. Borisov is a standard comet. It has an ice core, gas emissions, and a tail. Its mass is only a few tens of millions of tons, and all the phenomena can be explained by classical physics. But 3I Atlas does not behave like that. It spews gas hundreds of times more vigorously than Borisov, but its orbit is almost unchanged. An object can emit energy without propelling itself that goes against every law of conservation of momentum known to man. Some ESA scientists call this dynamic stillness, a paradox that only exists when the object is hollow or when mass is distributed in an unconventional way. If 3I Atlas were a solid mass, it would not be so stable. But if it were a giant hollow shell surrounding a much smaller core, the calculated mass could be an illusion created by reflections and density distortions. It could be a large, hollow object, like a cosmic egg or something engineered. From here, the question begins to move beyond the realm of conventional science. Could a comet naturally form with such a perfect hollow structure? Simulation models show that the probability is less than 1 inch 10 million. Ice and dust cannot crystallize into a hollow mass that remains stable over millions of years of interstellar travel. There are only two possibilities. Either it is an unknown physical phenomenon, or it is created by some will. Avi Loeb, a professor of astrophysics at Harvard, was the first to put forward this hypothesis. In a brief discussion in 2025, he said very quietly, "If you see an object that weighs tens of billions of tons, emitting gas regularly but is not deflected by forces, you probably are not looking at a rock." The statement silenced the room. No one wants to call it a spaceship, but no one can prove otherwise. Spectral measurements from the James Webb Telescope show that the amount of CO2 emitted from the surface of 3I Atlas is mechanically stable. No fluctuations, no breaks, no signs of spontaneous evaporation like a comet, like an air conditioner operating precisely to the second. Every unit of time, the same amount of gas is released in the same direction with the same intensity. If this is a physical process, it is a self-regulating physical process. What is even more strange is the reflection of the light. spectral data indicate that most of the light comes from a uniformly reflective surface, unlike the bumpy surfaces of comets. This steady reflection has led many physicists to call 3I Atlas a cold mirror, an object that can reflect light without absorbing the corresponding heat energy. If it is natural, it is something that has never been recorded in NASA's spectroscopy database. If it is artificial, it is engineered with precision far beyond Earth's current technology. But the universe is in no hurry to answer. All observations are just glimpses, limited by distance, by time, and by humans themselves. From Earth's perspective, 3I Atlas is just a point of light, a pale blue streak of light, moving slowly among billions of stars. No one knows what's inside. No one knows if it's solid or hollow. There are only numbers and gaps that humans are trying to fill with their imaginations. Some JPL researchers have tried to simulate the hypothetical gravitational field around the object. If 3I Atlas really had a mass of 33 billion tons, it would be enough to create a small disturbance in Mars's orbit, but there is no data to support that. This leads to the conclusion that either the mass is miscalculated or it has an extremely low density, less than 0.05 grams per cubic centimeter, less than a sponge, an object that weighs billions of tons but is as light as water vapor. Why does it maintain a stable shape despite flying millions of kilometers a day? These questions have no answers, but each leaves a small crack in our understanding of the universe, where we begin to realize that matter may not be as simple as we once believed. And all you live, the Potter leave vat. If 3I Atlas's mass isn't real, what is? Its light? Its reflectivity? Or is the very impression of an object just an energy illusion, a stable plasma in the form of a structure? A team in Tokyo has suggested that perhaps 3I Atlas isn't a solid object, but a condensed energy structure, like a sphere of plasma trapped in a self-sustaining magnetic field. If so, it would be a fourth form of matter between solid matter and pure energy. What's remarkable is that, despite all the different hypotheses, they all agree on one point: 3I Atlas doesn't behave like a comet, and so it shouldn't be called a comet. It's an interstellar object, a neutral designation, since no one knows what it really is. An ancient iceberg? A fragment from another star system? Or is it a device that has traveled millions of light years to observe us? In mid-August 2025, when Hubble recorded its first spectral image, the KEK Observatory team made a very short note: no reflection wobble. No reflection wobble. That means the light reflected from the object does not change as it rotates. A natural object, whether a comet or an asteroid, has reflection wobbles as it rotates. 3I Atlas does not. It is a homogeneous mass, not rotating, not tilting, just drifting. At that depth of the universe, sometimes silence is the signal. Not all sounds need to be emitted to be heard. An object weighing tens of billions of tons, moving through the solar system without causing significant gravitational wobbles, that is a silent soundtrack, and humans are only just beginning to learn to listen to it. When the first set of 3I Atlas orbital calculations was published, astronomers had to check the data 3 times, not because of measurement errors, but because it was too precise. The object's path was almost parallel to the ecliptic plane, where all the planets in the solar system travel, a trajectory that nature almost never chooses. One the primes. Wonder him. Most interstellar objects like Oumuamua or Borisov tend to orbits 10 to 30 degrees to the ecliptic. They come from all directions, driven by gravitational disturbances from distant star systems. But 3I, Atlas, was different. It flew flat, as if sliding on a mirror, a path across the largest concentration of gravity in the solar system. And strangely, it didn't collide, didn't veer, just drifted precisely, as if it knew exactly where it was going. But if come, and our slive and if quired, and done the brand, then well and lee hive 2-3, and the brand and done the brand of our orbital simulations show that its path crosses 3 major planetary orbital regions: Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Not only does it cross, but it also approaches at the optimal distance for Earth-based observations. For Venus, the closest distance is 0.7 AU. For Mars, it's only 0.5 AU. And for Jupiter, it's about 1.9 AU, the region where ground-based telescopes can best observe. That perfect coincidence has led many to suspect that this is no longer a random orbit. In the same 7 derd this word foremen, there foremen before Miss Southams, and one of the money before Miss A, and a product from more places work, and one of this word, if it is a random one, it is a calculated one, a path that any human probe would choose, because it offers the best observation, communication, and energy balance. However, 3I Atlas was not launched from Earth. There are no engines, no radar signals, no heat sources, just an icy object and a perfect orbit. Rives and rive, a bull-timed arriver 6, and the possivaria casters of the blacks, and in nutters for the mar exactly, and one brands for the wife 4 men's, with was a bidgers of the midi to a very. A JPL physicist once said, half-jokingly, if 3I Atlas were a probe, it would have better maps than we do. While the remark may seem humorous, it has a layer of truth. A natural object could not have moved so precisely by chance, unless it had an orbital purpose, a hidden plan in space. It is fated before examples, it is knotted, they works of the days. It is knotted. At the moment, as seen from Earth, 3I Atlas's path forms a curve that is almost parallel to Earth's orbit, with a deviation of just over 3.2 degrees. From an observational perspective, this is a rare gift. From a physics perspective, this is a paradox. An object from interstellar space, and yet it chooses the path that is most easily visible to humans. Know the dire. There's one the dire da. Dire the bothus. Dire da. The universe, it seems, is setting us up to see it. Not sooner, not later. Exactly at the moment when science is sophisticated enough to recognize the absurdity, researchers at ESA began running Monte Carlo simulations, a method of calculating random probabilities based on millions of orbital variations. The results gave them pause. The probability that a random object would have an orbit that intersected the solar system's 3 major planets at the same distance as 3I Atlas was 1 inch 20,000, and God with the writing in the Y, and continue alive, and wearing the writing in power, and the consis, and wearingly flowed. 1 in 10,000 is acceptable. 1 in 5,000 is considered lucky, but 1 in 20,000, that's the boundary where randomness begins to give way to intention, and God with the writing in the warg low chi, then that the small y, and data called and ride for the riding in the die. The NASA JPL simulation continued on 3,000 hypothetical orbits, only 0. 4% of them reproduce the orbit of 3I Atlas within an error of less than 1 degree. Scientists call this phenomenon resonant alignment, a geometric resonance between the planets and their orbits, a resonance that, in theory, only occurs when an object is placed at the right point in three-dimensional space. That knows, incasted one mand, and elested from the prost. That is, to achieve this orbit, the object must have started from a region of space with very specific coordinates, with an initial velocity accurate to the millisecond. No comet in humanity's 300-year-old data archive behaves like this. Even Borisov, an object from the Crux star system, has a 33-degree tilt and significant orbital fluctuations. 3I Atlas does not. It moves like a programmed satellite. Not the Swear de Kyles, not the Swear de Kai. Some scientists have tried to explain the phenomenon by invoking higher-order gravitational effects, for example, interference from Jupiter, orbital resonances, or mass variations during formation, but all of these models have failed to apply to real data. There is no force strong enough to naturally pull a distant object into an orbit parallel to the ecliptic. This is from where his not come and sud 6, with a dozen that double of condid, within mother's contelement, at its sudded, 2 mothers condid, with a double of suds, with a double of condid. Another hypothesis, perhaps 3I Atlas did not enter the solar system for the first time. Maybe it had already visited millions of years ago and had only just returned. If so, it could be on a long-distance journey, a loop between star systems, maintained by unnatural momentum, a kind of orbit, not driven by gravity but by memory. Duck the 10. There 1 inch 20,000. The number may seem small, but in a universe where billions and billions of possibilities exist, it is a sign of something. Intention. Not everything with a low probability is a miracle, but there are probabilities so low that we are forced to ask, is the universe choosing the path, or is the path choosing the universe? From the perspective of orbital physicists, each path tells a story. It tells the history of force, of time, of origin. But with 3I Atlas, the story is like a piece of music written in silences. Ever de 2. And formans 4. When its orbit is plotted on a coordinate plane, one notices something magical. The curve of 3I Atlas traces a gentle spiral around the path of Earth, a faint spiral, almost in sync with our own orbit. Viewed from the northern part of the solar system, the two lines almost touch, forming a symmetrical pattern, a kind of cosmic parallel. This verse runners intent, runners and bust, and Cities for the 19. Data analysts call this a bilateral intersection pattern, a geometric structure that only appears when two objects share an energy correlation. With Halley's comet, this has never happened. With Borisov, not even. Only 3I Atlas creates that spiral, a path that is written for humans to see from Earth, at an angle of 29 degrees, the most ideal viewing angle for today's optical telescopes, the Speak 17 and Lever 10 de Capper. And for Dover, some young scientists call it the signal curve. The signal curve, not because it makes a sound, but because it can speak, not in words, not in radio waves, but in geometry, the oldest language of the universe. This one read was no then, about no made, that, about no made. If the orbit is random, it will be messy. If it is natural, it will be slightly skewed by noise. But if it is too perfect, then maybe it is not the orbit of an object, but someone's handwriting. 1-3 weeks, night 4. Wan Sej, and is said, Nighted Junus. As the Hubble data were compiled, one more detail emerged. Each time 3I Atlas made its closest approach to a planet, its reflection intensity increased slightly by just 0.3%. Not enough to be noticeable, but enough to show that each time it passed by, it reacted and will get up and impenite, like someone tapping a finger on a window, enough to signal that they were there, and then falling silent. That grows as from arrives 7 comet. Some philosophers of science call this non-verbal communication of the universe, a form of interaction between humans and matter when both coexist in a cognitive model. If 3I Atlas is simply an object, then it is an object that chooses when to be seen. If it is not an object, then it may be a physical idea, a concept that takes shape. That be rested be rummed peace for Heath was it nine the seas. From the first day of its discovery, every calculation pointed to one truth. 3I Atlas did not go wrong. Every angle, every intersection, every stop was within the limits of near absolute error. No natural celestial body had ever behaved like this. No chaotic calculation could have produced such pure order. By mother and get plate. And so, humans, the small observers, began to wonder, was this a coincidence or an invitation? And there's things for the doing, and there's dharm, bada bai. When the orbit becomes a message, every equation is poetry. Every velocity vector is a melody, and the silence between the numbers may be the first whisper of the universe to humanity. Not everyone knows that light is the most honest storyteller in the universe. It doesn't lie. It just passes through, leaving traces that scientists call spectra, bright lines, streaks of color, gaps where atoms speak. They blie. They blie. They blie. They blie. The 4, they blie. And every way. When 3I Atlas was observed by Hubble on the 21st of July 2025, the first thing that made scientists stop breathing was not its shape, but its light. Its light was a pale blue, a blue not found in any known comet. It was not the cyanogen blue of Borisov, nor the cold white of water ice. It was like light reflected from a metal crystal, a light with depth, both clear and opaque and alive, and that tends to the Drang-Ferminical south. A Hubble spectral analysis shows that most of the brightness comes not from the nucleus, but from a surrounding layer of gas, what researchers call a coma. Strangely, this coma reflects light rather than diffuses it. In nature, ice and dust in comets scatter light, creating a faint tail. 3I Atlas, however, reflects it, as if its gas layer is coated with tiny metal particles or nanostructures, like man-made materials. The dinerous, the temples of returners, and well-contenders is I9. The brightness changes in a regular 11-hour cycle, but not because of rotation, but because of changes in the direction of the light, like a mirror adjusting its angle. No natural comet behaves this way. From a scientific perspective, it's like seeing an actively reflecting optical system. This wongers for most stain. Adacat 2. The Gemini South researchers continued to look in the infrared and found that the surface temperature of 3I Atlas did not match the reflected light. It was about 40 degrees colder than expected, despite reflecting twice as much sunlight. That would only be possible if the object were covered in a layer of energy-reflecting material, a cold metal jacket, like the thermal management technology humans use on spacecraft, and it said it has for wide. and within it breatheth, with it not two, and it's for wide. But 3I Atlas is not a spacecraft, or at least, it does not want to be seen as such. When the James Webb Telescope began collecting infrared spectra from the gas surrounding the object, the numbers caused an emergency meeting of the scientific team. Instead of the usual compounds like water, carbon monoxide, ammonia, 3I Atlas's spectrum showed a remarkable ratio of CO2, more than 8:1 to H2O. Not only that, but there was also a clear sign of nickel tetracarbonyl, NiCoQuart, a metal compound never before seen in a natural comet. And del tu archist, and de bed for glam. Nickel tetracarbonyl exists only at low temperatures and in stable pressure environments. It is almost impossible to form naturally in interstellar space, because ultraviolet light from the sun would destroy it instantly. Yet 3I Atlas carries it in its outer shell. This means the object is either self-protective or is undergoing a controlled chemical reaction. But all of this son, in the knot of Ost, Kriegos of my, and the side of the key, and the knot of the sane, at the molecular level, nickel tetracarbonyl is a compound commonly used in steam metal refining, an industrial technique, not a natural one. It allows nickel to be extracted from ore and recrystallized in its pure form. When a team of physicists at ESA re-examined the spectrum from Gemini, they discovered something else: no sign of iron. Iron, a common element in comets, asteroids, and space dust, was completely absent. Read eyes, an object rich in nickel but poor in iron, emitting CO2 regularly and devoid of water. That's not the recipe for a comet, but the chemical profile of a man-made material. They breeding product with you not the Chi. A Max Planck chemist wrote in an internal report, the spectral structure of 3I Atlas resembles that of industrially refined nickel samples, protected by carbon films and regulated by a stable CO2 pressure. If true, 3I Atlas is maintaining an energy-balanced reaction, like a device that knows how to adjust its chemical environment to survive. The bell to be half 10, but the word where one. The James Webb data also showed a complete absence of hydrogen cyanide, HCN, a molecule characteristic of comets. Instead, Webb recorded a weak signal of dissociated oxygen, possibly a product of electrolysis. If there is electrolysis, there must be electricity. If there is electricity, there must be an energy-generating structure. And if there is such a structure, 3I Atlas is active. In the business, and be forced, and act, and tenue one, active but no one knows why. Like a closed laboratory, where every reaction happens without witnesses. On the night of the 7th of September 2025, a group of amateur photographers in Namibia took the first images of 3I Atlas using a 400mm telescope. Surprisingly, in the images, the object glowed a strong green, a color typically seen when C2 double carbon molecules glow in comets. But the problem was, 3I Atlas had no double carbon. This people a node for Creator. Spectral data from Gemini confirmed that it lacked double carbon, a signature that gives other comets their characteristic blue glow. So why did 3I Atlas glow that way? Some optical physicists think it was inverse fluorescence, when a material reflects blue light from the sun by activating its opposite electron layer. This mechanism only occurs on surfaces with crystalline structures or thin metal films, a kind of controlled optical response. And do never 1, 2000, It's like someone is adjusting the intensity of the light, but on a planetary scale. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Follow-up images from Hubble and Gemini confirm. The blue light is not an optical illusion. It's real, steady, regular, and changes slightly as the object gets closer to the sunday. The intensity increases by 12%, then decreases by 9% at 2.3 AU. It doesn't match the solar radiation cycle, nor does it match the object's rotation. It's as if it decides for itself when to shine. To the Seine Dam, and the Grace Leif and Amer serve, and down with Rico. A team in Tokyo tried projecting that light spectrum onto a global polarization map. When the light was processed, they saw a double helix pattern, like two bands of light running in opposite directions around the object, a pattern that closely matched the images of twisted plasma from electromagnetic sensors. If true, the blue light wasn't just light, it was electrochemical, a reaction with direction, wear, and kindred. The combination of nickel, CO2, and blue polarized light created an equation that didn't exist in nature. It was chemistry gone wrong, a reaction that maintained order in the chaos of space, a mechanism that counteracted entropy, a way for matter to resist decay. They hearden taker different the differences flashens, they hearden the pruvik, and a deferences far, and well find dedax. In the quiet of the night, when Hubble took its final UV image, 3I Atlas glowed like an electromagnetic scar in the sky, a streak of light that wouldn't fade, as if the universe were signing its name in the void. And 9 losing friends, and 1 he remand timerhuff, and well did de graith rejours of lunit, too eligible for sex. Nobody knew what that light meant. But for those who had watched it for months, they were beginning to understand that, sometimes, the universe doesn't send messages in words or radio signals. It sends them in light, and to see if anyone has the patience to read it. In I do F, then surmis the Kari, and Bias. You can deck to a leveris, and dun condast, in Sonlay, the glass the sill, and 1 piso, maybe 3I. Atlas isn't saying it's artificial, but by glowing, it's showing that matter doesn't just exist, it responds. As 3I Atlas approached the innermost orbit of the solar system, all of humanity held its breath, not out of fear, but because this might be the last chance to see it, the strange light that had traveled hundreds of millions of kilometers just to stop near us once. That he 6 is to 1, the place works servant my Brenton, mating Ruthers, and he was why, in the servant end of it, all observatories, from space to the ground, pointed their lenses to the same spot. No one was sure what they would see, but in everyone's heart, there was a common feeling that the universe was giving us a small moment to look back at ourselves through the eyes of infinity. That's Klein. In Cass, the signals, the images, the numbers, were just manifestations of something larger, the thirst for knowledge. Humans continue to send questions to the sky, and sometimes the answers come not in words, but in the absolute silence of an object that reflects light. It's as if the universe just wants us to realize that we are ready to listen. And now you love this, in those terms. In that moment, all the boundaries between science and emotion blur. Astronomers are no longer just observers, but witnesses to a silent dialogue between humans and the universe. A dialogue that requires no words, only the belief that, when an object strange enough to pass by, it does not come to be proven, but to awaken questions in our hearts. 9 Roof, This per semper 10. This, if you are listening to these lines, remember that what we call discovery is actually just an encounter between human curiosity and the patience of the universe. Between the two, all boundaries of time dissolve. All that remains is this moment, a distant blue light, and the steady breathing of the planet beneath my feet. And own the Bredne, with their remainder deprusted, but integrated as contexts. Maybe 3I Atlas will leave, disappear from sight, and drift into the darkness of space. But what it leaves behind is not an image or data, but a sense of touching the unknowable, a reminder that, even in the silence, the universe is still telling us something. With man the wrong lichen be tumen, and with man the lichen be for with booked for base. If you want to continue listening for such signals, leave a small mark in the middle of this night, a subscription, a comment, or just your sympathetic silence. Because who knows, somewhere far away, 3I Atlas itself is listening back to us. Space has its own order. The large planets orbit the sun in familiar curves, like repeated ink blots on an ancient page. And then, in the midst of that cyclical picture, an unusual streak of light appeared, 3I Atlas, and that de Biel-teens for me Zide, and down for my never one. Then it was C Dalton 10, and never one. Then never one Dalton, and never one. When the orbital data were released, the astronomers were silent for a long time, because instead of coming in diagonally, like all previous interstellar objects, 3I Atlas flew parallel to the ecliptic plane, where only planets belonging to the sun can survive for long. Essentials as Cis, Axa, an almost purposeful orbit. It skimmed the orbit of Venus, passed close to Mars, and then touched the edge of Jupiter's influence. 3 close approaches. The 3 planets with the strongest gravity in the system. Not a bump, not a wobble, just a perfect glide, like an invisible satellite moving between layers of space. And agrest, Ephraimage crest from over peace, that are one, and are four. If the universe is a symphony, then the path of 3I Atlas is the odd note placed in the right place. Not out of tune, but making the whole thing sound different forever. This is a vase for more content and an idea of screw from our proof. Some researchers say it not only passes through the region of the planets, but also passes through the time when humans are looking up, a synchronization between the position of the object and humanity's ability to observe, as if someone, or something, had calculated it. The day had it duox that NEX. If you're listening to these lines, imagine a thin line of light running across the solar system, as flat as a thread, and at a single moment, Earth, and only Earth, is exactly on that same plane. That's what 3I Atlas did. In the Goddard, to Majops's res, in the Goddard, it didn't just pass through the solar system, it passed through our line of sight, as if the universe wanted to make sure we saw it. Low probability doesn't mean impossible, they say, but sometimes the probability is so low that it makes logic pause and think. That's absider was her rebus. There are a number quagli in the soluid distor, and that it is quadar. When orbital simulations are run millions of times by computers, only 1 inch 20,000 has a similar trajectory to 3I Atlas, crossing the 3 major planets and maintaining a near zero tilt to the ecliptic. And we have not dozen forstead to 7 plays and to mirror and this nide, and we have decide this disappored, and we have disted and 1 of 1 in 20,000. that sounds small, but in the language of the universe, it's almost like design, with alls increased in many tech. A statistician joked, if someone flips a coin 20,000 times and it comes up heads, we're no longer talking about luck, we're talking about design. Then the serve the masted some plast, then rue-percented, then the polity self-flast to the verses for rue-percenteds, and the groove. Of course, science doesn't accept randomness as a miracle. It looks for a cause. Jupiter's gravitational pull, interstellar gas streams, or chemical repulsion. But each explanation falls apart when compared to the actual data. No force is strong enough to have brought the object from such a distant place to its current position, and still maintain such a thin orbit. And that is that being graps of fury the stams. In the mother's one for marry people, don't marry one. With a planeted Pharos, the more you calculate, the smaller the probability becomes. The smaller the question becomes. Is what we're seeing not just a blob of matter, but a purposeful behavior, a path chosen, not born? The plast win of the soft, and our sevenness flayed laugh, the botter and ten. And if that's true, then who or what chose it? This past some the mort of one, in the more of many card of plake, to a lound of 2 or 9 with a parm. Perhaps this is the moment when statistics meets philosophy, when numbers cease to be data and become mirrors reflecting the limits of understanding. They're like the Sipsids, but on the serms, rudes, but in marker, rudes, but on the serms. If you feel yourself drifting between these numbers, leave a small sign, so I know you are still with me on this flight, between reason and wonder. In the entire solar system, there is only one planet with the perfect angle to see 3I Atlas pass by, Earth, and it happens to be right at the object's closest approach to the Sun, a time called perihelion, in the fast, in Frasier. A strange coincidence. At the moment when the object is brightest, Earth is at exactly the best viewing position, not too far away to be dim, not too close to be obscured by sunlight. A delicate balance. It's as if the universe opened a small window and whispered, "Look, just this once, one of the God back. Today had dot. Without of the people for you now." Astronomers call it the maximum viewing window, a brief period when all the physical conditions are in agreement. It's something that rarely happens, and almost never exactly matches up with humanity's observing calendar. But this time, it happened. And when the human looked up, the object was there. The Rendable of Lestinger, the docu-life. Among billions of possibilities, a chain of events almost programmed to converge at this exact moment. No one dares to claim it was random, but everyone felt something, an invisible will of the universe, bringing an object millions of light years just to meet us at the right moment. The foreman's force and tension place the graft, and man, the foreman's force, the graft, dogger, with a new manner, and the cane, the climb. If you are listening in silence, let this feeling slowly pass through you like light passing through a lens, because such moments are so rare that, just by recognizing them, we have become part of that miracle. And the foreman's tomitters walks pros, no thanks to the spotter, and the prosov so wakol lug zakas, and the placed a visitor with a nod donner, and the foreman's, and the placed a visitor. When all the measurements are finished, the only question left is, did 3I Atlas really pass by randomly? Or was Earth just chosen to see it? In neither one's, why Zach? It's a foreman's, the ninden leaves, it's a part of, and the latered, and looters. If you believe that coincidence is a language, then perhaps this is the universe's way of saying hello. Stay, because there is still much left unsaid. Subscribe, so when the next signal comes, we will hear it together, in silence. Every age has a moment when humanity, despite its most advanced technology, still feels small in the face of the universe. For this century, that moment is called 3I, Atlas, and there is star Dej in Mile Daughter, and then Proflex 26. As it passed through the bright side of the sun, the three great eyes of humanity opened: Hubble, James Webb, and Gemini South. 3 levels of vision, 3 different languages of light, one in ultraviolet, one in deep infrared, and one in the optical spectrum that the human eye could ever dream of, and the region of the Penis, in Marcast, and the Panis. Hubble saw it glow with a greenish hue, a thick, cold, and quiet light. Webb saw it radiate a faint but steady energy, like an object covered in a stable plasma. Gemini South, from the south of Earth, recorded a steady wave of light reflections, which oscillated once every 11 hours, like a breath. In one this very dows and one sin browns, in doubt a given of long ones, when you to gathers, and down one this very downs, no one my no PS. The data put together didn't make for a clear picture, just a bright mass with a darker center than the edges, and a thin halo of gas surrounding it. But it was in this ambiguity that things started to get strange. Skans for major, Dur, but B1 flus describe that the tenue. Spectrologists noticed something. The light from 3I Atlas wasn't diffused, it was reflected. Instead of absorbing energy, it responded by bouncing it back into space, a mechanism that only works in materials with a smooth, uniform structure, something that natural comets never possess. In a way climbs to 1. From there, the first hypotheses about reflective shells, self-regulating chemical membranes, and cold metallic structures began to emerge, not as solutions, but as whispers of curiosity. As the spectral data were decoded, a list of elements emerged and quickly overturned every known comet model. Then, in the vendors of them, others subpretendigs, and the vende and the comment, and the vendigs, and the comment, then blang way those runes, and the grassed, and the commons, and they won, then onlyly, with remand, no water, no ammonia, no cyanide, compounds found in all icy bodies. Instead, 3I. Atlas's spectrum was filled with CO2, a quantity so vast that it could not be explained by natural evaporation. Along with it, there were absorption lines from nickel tetracarbonyl, a compound that only exists under artificial conditions, and YGs of the self, 2I gelanin, and the flav-recon different. Nickel tetracarbonyl forms when nickel vapor reacts with carbon monoxide at low temperatures, in a controlled atmosphere. On Earth, it only occurs in laboratories. In space, a small amount of ultraviolet light can disrupt the molecular structure. Yet, in the crust of 3I, Atlas, it was there, stable, dense, as if maintained on purpose. It is a primarily while, and for that in the lows and from smeared, Webb data showed that the CO2 outgassing was regular, no fluctuations, no disturbances. Each burst was released at a near constant rate. That was not cometary behavior. It was the sign of a pressure-regulating system. And the Scripius primes and the Conses Frive and Rust. In that moment, astronomers realized they were reaching the frontier of science, where physical data began to behave as if on purpose. NGOE worked, the NE Stecken, the NE sacked. A number of hypotheses were proposed and quickly discarded. It couldn't be a comet. It couldn't be a solid rock. Some talked about organized non-organic chemistry, a form of non-biological life powered by reactions of metals and energy, without cells or water. Rabrazin, which is there a blues, 3I, Atlas, in the way it balances heat and pressure, is like experimenting with the way of being between life and inanimateness, a body without blood vessels, but still able to regulate, without a heartbeat, but still having cycles. Even with hundreds of telescopes pointed at it, the image of 3I, Atlas, is still just a faint streak of light. There is no detail clear enough to conclude whether it is hollow or solid, ice or metal, natural or artificial. All are just hypotheses, pieces of a puzzle that the universe will not let anyone finish. Here on Tense, in Costers. The monger by two, and perhaps that is its nature, not to be understood, but to test our knowledge, to dare to expand one step further. There's this to announce of the tech. The most experienced astronomers have also begun to speak in a softer tone, that 3I, 8TLAS is not just an object, but a moving question. A question drifting through the solar system, leaving behind a thin streak of light, like a stream of thoughts floating in the night. Déballade, the supercent and to nature, déballade, and perhaps it is its vagueness that makes people stop. For if an object is so perfect that no one can understand it, then perhaps the thing to observe is not the object, but the way we are looking. 1. And down the goodness, in the deep sky. 3. Atlas moves away, slow, light, and quiet. But the questions about it still linger. Between science, philosophy, and the feeling that something is watching us from the other side of the light. After all the measurements, after the thousands of gigabytes of data, what remained was not an answer, but silence. This fermented us when the common is when the turns of work spanned and it backed numb the das, in Reber das Gober ferment. This fermented number from mice. 3. Atlas could not be explained by formulas, nor could it be denied by evidence. It existed at the edge of knowledge, where each new theory was born, only to melt away before the colder truth. Their breasts adeptance in death reform 16 and their win.com. Young scientists called it the neutral object of thought. It was neither a matter of belief nor a matter of doubt. It was just there, like a mirror reflecting back how humans were defining reality. And the graced with passable tens of room, the comebacks the servin in debutus and row passable 10. When the data from Webb, Hubble, and Gemini were compiled, no one argued about numbers anymore. Instead, they began to argue about interpretations. Are we seeing a previously unknown physical phenomenon, or are we seeing a limit to human understanding? And is Frive of the mand, some say 3I, Atlas is nature's test, to see if we have the patience to admit that there are things that can only be seen, not yet understood. Others say it is the first object that has forced science to be humble again. It is not have faced, not W21. Because in the world of data and models, everything must have a cause. But if that cause is beyond the limits of mathematics, then we are forced to stop and observe ourselves in a moment of helplessness before the inexplicable. That the one happened Deveritsfans experience, and Malmet with the presences for whose in sea, and for half and frun whose example, perhaps that is the most valuable part of science, not the solution, but the ability to accept not understanding, because it is from that void that new ideas are born. They're doing relevant together. It's problem downsive, and who knows, the universe has always sent us objects like 3I Atlas, not to prove anyone's existence, but to remind us that knowledge is not a destination, but a journey. The sal the clatter sal the batters, and when the sal this men before, but nodders of so potters, and dumberance, that idea of falthans, a journey that lasts for centuries, where people will continue to look up, ask questions, and wait for another ray of light.